Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. To all of my new subscribers, hi, thank you for supporting Soulprint. That's awesome. The comments and the thumbs up, it's all brilliant, and I thank every one of you. So, if I'm looking a little wee bit shell-shocked, it would be because I just heard somebody named Ralph Reed. I don't know who this Yahoo is, but apparently if you're an evangelical, you probably do know who he is, who has now told evangelicals that they must render to God and Trump, and that it is their moral obligation to not only support Trump, but to enthusiastically support Trump. That, of course, was followed by a comment, I believe it was made yesterday by Pat Robinson, who said if Trump didn't correct the situation in Syria, you ready for this? He was in danger of losing his mandate from heaven. Alrighty then. If you're confused like I'm confused, I'm going to give this book one more plug. It's called Off the Hook by Earl Wayne Heffinger. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I just don't get it. It's like, how can you have so many people who just mindlessly turn their lives, their hearts, and their thoughts over to another power, particularly a human power? It's beyond my grasp. So I guess it'll be interesting to see who wins. If the Robinson group wins, who wants Trump to do something, or he's going to lose a mandate from heaven, or the Reed guy who just wants everybody to surrender to God and Trump, like as if somehow they're on par with each other. Okay, so I'm going to try to shake off the just the crazy that doesn't compute in my brain. So, as we speak, Turkey is, I guess, in the process of attacking Syria. This is an incredibly dangerous situation. Yesterday, when I did my reading, I really felt as if there was going to be some sort of a pullback, and there has not been. We'll see if one happens in the next day or so, but I don't know how you can, put the ketchup back in the bottle, right? It's happened, it's done. And part of what has happened as a result of that is you now have allies the world over who was looking at Trump and saying, we can't trust you. Nothing you say can be held as, true. And then by extension, there is that sense of, well, this is what the American people voted in. And I know that sort of seems like not fair in some ways, because so many of you did not vote him in. He won in part because of gerrymandering, and in part because of, Russian interference, which, by the way, was confirmed by that committee yesterday again. So, but this isn't good. Okay, this is just not a good situation. But it got me to thinking, and so I did a little bit of a meditation on this, and I want to kind of lay out the cards to see if we can get a little bit more depth, if you will, of the download of information I was given. So this is kind of it. It's like the writing is on the wall for Trump. Other countries know that they're not going to have this power over him for much longer. They recognize what's going on. They recognize he's likely to be impeached. They're likely, they're recognizing that the power and that he had, the favors he was able to do, are going to become more limited. And that is why you see this ramping up of Trump and his crazy behavior, because he is basically trying to pay back the favors, right? Be made whole. With some of these countries who, of course, have been maneuvering him and for whom he has been doing their bidding. So I want to take a kind of look and see if we can get an overview of that, because it feels very much as if there is this sense that things need to wrap up because he's not going to be in power a whole lot longer, and we better get, well, the getting's good. So Trump's obligation to other countries, Trump's obligations to other countries, Trump's obligations to other countries. There's been so much of it that, everybody's just sitting around going, why is he doing this? What the heck is going on? But if you kind of look at it from, 30,000 feet, what you get is that he's actually getting really, really pressured in order to fulfill the promises that he made when he became president, in order to get the favors he was looking for. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so the White House, right? These are literally his markers, I think. I think that's the word for it. These are the things that have been done for him. And he now has to start working at paying back these favors, because he realized this isn't some plumbing contractor in New York who he just shafted. These are powerful world leaders, and especially because he seems to want to play, with dictators and dictator type people. On some level, he actually does recognize that those are probably not the people he should be crossing. So, he recognizes that they took him out of rocky waters. They put him on more solid ground. But because they kept things hidden, there was a lot of give and take, a lot of quid pro quos going on, a lot of you do this, I won't talk about that. There's like a lot of it. But why you see this ramping up is because Trump literally has to pay these countries back. All right, so you've got Putin. I'm just going to kind of look at the top three that come to mind really easily. So you have Putin and Russia. So they have been levied sanctions for two different events. One set of sanctions was placed because of the invasion of Crimea. So what Trump is trying to do is he's trying to force the Ukraine to compromise with Russia and just give them Crimea and say, oh, it wasn't a big deal. Because as soon as Ukraine says, oh, it wasn't a big deal, there is no longer a border dispute, and so therefore there is no longer any reasons to keep sanctions. The second set of sanctions against Russia and Putin were about election interference in 2016. If Trump can convince Ukraine to find dirt on the Bidens, if he can convince Ukraine to reverse the investigation and basically start admitting that, they were the ones who were interfering, they were the problem, well, that's the second reason that sanctions can get lifted, because if it is not the Ukraine who is proven to have done these dirty deeds, well, those sanctions can get lifted. And so with Putin, it's a double whammy. He owes him a lot. You then have China, okay? And you've got a lot of kind of, I won't talk about this if you do that. You've got a lot of Trump trademarks, Ivanka trademarks that were, released from China, like starting almost very early in the presidency. And I suspect continuing on, maybe perhaps just kept a little bit more under wraps. Oh, I got another one. Okay, so you've got Turkey, who has now, launched these attacks against Syria. Trump has business dealings in Istanbul. He has property there. He has businesses there. He is obviously trying to get on the right side of that situation so that he can then, use his office to amplify the importance of these businesses. And of course, Saudi Arabia, who has given the Kushners a boatload of money and also likes to book a bunch of rooms in Trump hotels and then never use them. So the booking is straight profit, right? So this is what's going on. You have this thing where he's literally trying to push back on all of the pressure that is being leveled against him from other countries. And the problem is that when Trump gets, he's very aggressive, right? And he likes to push. But when he actually gets pushed back, he absolutely collapses. He likes to push forward, but if you push back, done. He has no way to kind of recover from that. So as a result, he completely surrenders and does their bidding. He's getting more and more pressure applied to him, and they're literally saying, we will tell. We will not protect you. You get this done for us, or we're going to, explode your presidency, basically. And so he's worried, and so he's stressful, and so he's not sleeping, and so he's trying to fulfill these, I was going to use the word promises, but it's not. It really is like obligations, okay, to these other world leaders, because he realizes that, he's going to be in really big trouble without their ongoing support. They, on the other hand, are starting to pull back and say, nope, you have a campaign that is dying. You are not going to be for long in that position. And it is time for you to take care of what needs to be taken care of again, or we will start talking. Now, I'm not so sure that they actually would, but the threat is enough, because again, he's a coward. He doesn't know how to fight. He only knows how to shove and push. So this is a problem. Expect a few more, because I am not well versed on how many businesses Trump has and where they're located and to whom else he would potentially owe favors. But do not be surprised over the next few weeks to see some really crazy maneuvering and some really crazy decisions having to do not with domestic, but with, international and global. It's going to be very interesting sort of to see as he continues to do these really, really crazy things. And then it doesn't take long to dig deep down and figure out what the connection is between Trump and either the dictator or Trump and that country. So Trump is aware that there is a lot that could come out, okay? And he's really scared of that. Make no mistake about that. He's scared of it because he does know how indebted he is to these people. That much is clear, okay? And here comes the Fool to sit right over the Death card. So yeah, that's not looking so good for you, buddy. Again, he's just going to charge for it. Brace yourself, because there's going to be more of this. What the heck? Like, where did that come from? We thought we had that situation settled, and he digs it up again, much like the whole Syrian thing. I mean, it was 6 or 8 months ago, or whenever it was, that he made this threat then and then pulled back. So it's not like he doesn't almost give you an advance warning. He does. He tells you, I'm going to attack. And more importantly, I'm not only going to attack, but I'm going to do it in such a way that gets everybody riled up. Because as long as everybody's riled up, that is creating a distraction, because, domestically I'm in big trouble. And so, let's just, muddy the waters and get everybody distracted all over the place. And so that's the story there. So one of the questions that I kind of had then was, for what purpose? And it is possible that he is trying to get in really good with 1 or 2 countries. And I know this is going to sound a wee little bit like a conspiracy theory, but I'm starting to think that in order to escape or attempt to escape the justice, he is actually looking. One of the things that is on the chalkboard is literally leaving the office and then leaving the country, almost literally exiling himself, moving, the Trump headquarters out of New York to some other country that is not going to be anxious to give Trump back to the United States. I know that sounds really out there, but as this continues to unfold, there has to be some recognition that on some level, even Trump recognizes that he's getting backed against a wall. And I wish I could remember that, what the statement he just made about his wisdom and something. So again, tooting a horn that he doesn't actually have to toot, because this man has no wisdom, and whatever else the other phrase was. So, but this is what I know. I know that the truth is coming after him. I know that things that are international, business dealings, all of that kind of stuff is really going to come under a microscope. And it almost doesn't matter how it's done, like what road gets taken. The result is going to be a broken heart for him, and a destroyed life, and a destroyed existence. He's not even smart enough to understand that if he were to, let's just say, exile himself to Russia, does he really think that he is so special that within months he would not be completely under Putin's rule? Does he think that if he went to China, that Xi would not put him under a thumb? But he's not even smart enough to understand that the people he's running to really are his enemies. They're only his friends when there is money involved and it works to their advantage. He doesn't get it. He's going to be disappointed to learn that that actually is the reality. And more importantly, the world every day now is watching him de-evolve, disintegrate. They are watching him just sort of implode. And he is not looked at for sure as any kind of a stable genius. I can tell you that right now. There's going to be a lot happening in a lot of with a fair amount of speed, okay? And part of it is going to be the impeachment investigations. Part of it is going to be a couple of other, I don't know what they are, but I'm seeing a couple more things up his sleeve. Like literally, he has to do this in order to save his skin. And so don't be surprised if there's a couple more kind of really crazy decisions that come out of the White House, things that don't make any sense. They're losing ground. This is the bottom line, okay? The Trump situation is losing ground. The courts are turning against them. The rulings that are coming down on these ridiculous defenses that the White House is putting out about how the president can't be, investigated. He can't be charged. He can't be looked at. In fact, don't even ask him any questions. And by the way, don't ask any questions of anybody he knows. This is ridiculous. The courts are going to start pushing back harder and harder and harder. So, and the poll numbers are getting worse and worse and worse for him. So even he is really, really starting to feel that pressure. So if there were things that he thought, okay, well, I'll do that in my second term, it won't look so bad, whatever. He's now run out of time. He is up against a wall. People are demanding that he make good on the promises and commitments that he made to them. And he soon is getting to a place where he has nowhere to turn. Is there actually a Republican revolution kind of going on within the ranks? Yeah. Okay, maybe I wouldn't call it a revolution. Maybe I would call it, creeping out of their caves and reevaluating. Maybe we'll go that far. And that is why, as these polling things come out and they actually show that Trump is honestly losing credibility even with that Republican base that, everybody was so sure couldn't move, that is why you have these evangelical types talking in terms of render to God and losing the mandate from heaven. That one actually really concerns me, because what it does is it implies that there actually has been a mandate from heaven for the last 3 years. And maybe as a non-evangelical, I kind of missed the subtlety of that. But it definitely looks like the evangelicals are now being maneuvered and put into position to support whatever he does, however he does it, whenever he does it, and whyever he does it. Because, again, this is a group of people that have surrendered their own power, their own free will, and their own, literally, thought processes to a higher power on earth. On earth. Understand that. They have surrendered their power to human men and women who profess to know the mind of God. That's just not true. That's just not true. Okay, bottom line. He's got, fortune continues to turn against him. I think in some ways people were sort of thinking that it would be like a bomb and everything would just kind of be destroyed that he did, and then you could start rebuilding it, and that this big explosion was going to sort of be what brings him down. I'm starting to think, as I said months and months ago, it really looks like death by 1,000 cuts. It's going to be one thing, it's going to be another thing. I long said that after he left office, he would be dealing with, lawsuits out the wazoo, because states would be going after him, not federally perhaps, but definitely the states would be going after him for those concerns and issues that they have. But it looks as if even his tower moment is going to happen. Oh my God. Sometimes I swear you cannot plan this stuff. The judgment is going, the wheel of fortune that turns against him is going to continue to move forward as more and more judgments are made, one at a time, one after another. And too much of it has to do with money and power and possessions. And you know what? At some point, people, even those people who really thought he was the cat's ass, are going to say, you know what? I am more out in the cold now than I was before. And look at everything he is reaping and benefiting. And hell, some people are even rendering to him. It's going to turn. Yeah, it's going to turn. He's going to wish he could go back in time. And yeah, he can't do that. And he was given many, many opportunities, literally while in office. And that's what people, should remember if there's any sense that they kind of feel sorry for the guy. He has been given opportunity after opportunity since he swore that oath to the Constitution to try to bring the country back together, to do right by all of the American people. He has been given opportunities to try to calm things down, and instead he inflames them. He creates riots where there are none. And so it's not going to be pretty when this comes down. And I'm going to make a little bit of a prediction here and say that by the end of November, you are going to see some real significance shifting going on. More and more independents are going to start pushing back, but there are going to be more Republicans that sort of fall into line. Not only House Republicans, but even some Senate Republicans are going to say, okay, you know what? We're actually getting to a bridge too far. Nobody is able to defend him now. They just go out there and yak about procedures and stuff that is nonsense. But nobody is able to say he absolutely didn't do that. And so there is no defense. And because there's no defense, at some point you have to stop defending the indefensible. Okay? So there we have it. I hope you have found this interesting. Perhaps it's giving you something to think about. It's a very strong and clear impression that I got that there really is this sense that he is trying to get good with certain people because on some level he is trying to feather a nest somewhere else to facilitate a safe landing. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to unfold that way, but I do feel that that could very well be part of his demented motivation. Okay. So, again, thank you so much for the support. Thank you. All right. Until next time, take care, be well, and we'll see you really soon. Bye.